We've just had a very inspiring description of the realization of consciousness, the nature of consciousness, as it's realized through self-enquiry. And now we're going to get a description of those that have realized it. And the description is quite different from the usual image we might have of the meditating yogi who's supposedly sitting there with his eyes closed in an enlightened condition, or even from the images of the Buddha that we often see sitting there with his eyes closed in a state of tranquility. These images, although they've got their place, we've got to be careful how they affect our expectations of spirituality. So here we've got some descriptions which might help balance that situation. Vasishta continued, established in this realization of the truth, the great sages lived forever in peace and equanimity. They were free from psychological predisposition, and hence they did not seek nor reject either life or death. They remained unshaken in their direct experience, like another Meru mountain. Mt Meru is supposed to be the axis of the world around which the world rotates. Yet they roamed the forests, islands and cities. They travelled to the heavens as if they were angels or gods. They conquered their enemies and they ruled as emperors. They engaged themselves in diverse activities in accordance with scriptural injunctions as they realized that such was appropriate conduct. They enjoyed the pleasure of life. They visited pleasure gardens and were entertained by celestial damsels. They duly fulfilled the duties of the household life. They even engaged themselves in great wars. They retained their equanimity even in those disastrous situations where others would have lost their peace and balanced state of mind. In other words, they are fully engaged. They're not sitting under a tree or in some forest hermitage. They are fully engaged with life, but they're not taken in by it. Their mind had fully entered the state of satva, or divinity, and was therefore utterly free from delusion, from egoistic notion, I do this. In other words, they're not taking any merit for the actions that they perform, and they're free from the desire for achievement, though they did not reject such achievement or the rewards for their actions. So they'll take payment, they'll take recognition, but it's not something they'll invest any egoistic notions in. They did not indulge in vain exaltation when they defeated their enemies, nor did they give way to despair and grief when they were defeated. So sometimes you need to fight. Sometimes it's appropriate conduct to fight in a war. It might also be appropriate to be a conscientious objector. It depends on the factors prevailing in your society. They were engaged in natural activities, allowing all actions to proceed from them non-volitionally. Follow their example, O Ram. Let your personality, ego sense, be egoless and let appropriate actions spontaneously proceed from you. So you just do what needs to be done, not in order to enhance a sense of your own identity. For the infinite indivisible consciousness alone is the truth, and it is that which has put on this appearance of diversity, which is neither real nor unreal. Hence live completely unattached to anything here. Why do you grieve as if you are an ignoramus? And we're told to live unattached to something. We don't want to let go of things. We identify with what we're attached to, But if you realise your nature as awareness, which contains everything, it's silly to grieve for the limited things that we're attached to. Rama said, Lord, by your grace I am fully awakened to the reality. My delusion has vanished. I shall do as you bid me to do. Surely I rest peacefully in the state of one who is liberated even while living. Pray, Lord, tell me how one reaches a state of liberation by the restraint of the life force, prana, and by the annihilation of all self-limitations or psychological conditioning. So here we've got the pranayama creeping in. We've just had a very good exposition of realization through self-enquiry. But this pranayama, which is associated with traditional yoga and traditional yogic notions, keeps trying to get a foothold. Vasishta continued, they call it yoga, which is the method by which the cycle of birth and death ceases. It is the utter transcendence of the mind, and it is of two types. Self-knowledge is one type, restraint of the life force is another. However, yoga has come to mean only the latter. Yet, both the methods lead to the same result. To some, self-knowledge through inquiry is difficult, to others, yoga is difficult. But my conviction is that the path of inquiry is easy for all, because self-knowledge is the ever-present truth. I shall now describe to you the method of yoga. So the method of yoga is essentially pranayama here. It's been quite clearly stated in various parts of the Yoga Vasishta that the only method is self-enquiry. But there is this traditional yogic stream which seems to not want to let go of its practices. So we get this quite amazing description of pranayama coming up. It's an extended description, but I think at the crucial point, the point of realization, the pranayama is dropped and it's self-enquiry that takes over. So I'll point that out to you when it happens. But let's hear what the traditional yogic perspective is.